I am so excited to talk about today's topic. Now, if you don't do this, you won't be successful in business. And I know that's a bold statement, but it's 100% true. And I'm gonna go through why in this video. So if you want more business success, keep watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you like this content. Don't forget to share, comment with a friend who may benefit as well. And you will help us together collectively as a community to empower more women. My name is Sarah May Ives, and I help women make the changes required to help them live a life that they feel is exceptional. I also help men too, but mostly women are attracted to my content. All right, so let's dive right into the topic of today's video, which is radical responsibility. Yes, it's kind of a hard pill for some people to swallow, but I want to talk about it because it is so important to your business journey, so drastically important that everybody needs to know about it. In fact, I've got a training program for women who want to start profitable businesses, and one of the very first modules that we go through together, radical responsibility, and they also sign an entrepreneurial oath, or most of them do. Okay, so what is radical responsibility? Well, it's the concept that you are either directly responsible or in some way partly responsible for the situation that you find yourself in. Now, this doesn't mean that you can't have bad things happen to you. That being said, you have 100% control over how you react to even circumstances that are not directly your fault. Okay, so in today's world, this whole concept of radical responsibility is, dare I say it, controversial, right? Because we have a lot of victimhood in the news and the media and everything, and the idea of radical responsibility and that in some way, if not fully, we are completely responsible for ourselves and our results in our lives, that doesn't sit well with some people. But here's the thing, you are not some people. You are here because you want to be successful. So I'm gonna walk through how. So radical responsibility can sometimes feel like a frustration, correct? Because you can think, well, Sarah, you're just victim blaming. No, in fact, what I'm doing is trying to give you back your power. I'm trying to empower you. Because if we are at the whims of other people all the time and we have no control over anything, that's more depressing to me. In fact, radical responsibility is radically optimistic, because what I'm saying to you is if you can look at all the situations in your life and say, how could I either have done something differently to prevent that, or at least had a different reaction to what happened to me, I can suddenly move the needle in my life. I can leverage those experiences towards a better future, and towards a future where I'm not disempowered. I'm not a victim to the whims of other people. I am a true live agent in my life, and I can make my life better. I am responsible for where I am in my life today. I have had an active part in it, and even if I didn't, even if just old plain bad luck happened to me, I am in control with how I am going to react to it. That is the whole premise of what is radical responsibility and why it is actually so empowering when you see it from the proper way. No longer are we victims. So radical responsibility can drastically shape your life, and also, as a bonus, drastically turn you into an adult, right? I have noticed a lot of people are walking around with this victim mentality, and the unfortunate side effect is it's juvenile. It leaves them to always feel like everyone else is to blame, and the position with which they are in their life is everyone else's fault. And unfortunately, that bad position does not really beg for much success, right? Because we tend to stay stuck. If we're feeling stuck and we feel like we can't do anything about it, then we just perpetuate the cycle of being stuck. What if you were to step into your energy of full empowerment and say, this bad thing happened to me, but I can learn something from it, and I can also choose to have a response, to have an outcome that is useful for me, my family, my community, whoever it may be that is in your personal orbit. So when it comes to radical responsibility, it changes lives. And I've noticed over and over, if you're in that blame mentality, if you're in the victim mentality, you will not be successful at business. Guaranteed. Because when things don't go your way, you're always going to be like, well, so-and-so was to blame, and then you can't fix it, right? So the number one step to use radical responsibility in your life is to have the mindset of, when things don't go the way I like, what can I do differently? What could I have done differently? You may even want to get out a journal. This would be a great way to usher in the concept of radical responsibility in your life. Get a journal, not a laptop. When you journal, you use both sides of your brain. When you're typing on a laptop, you don't. So I recommend you actually get a journal and write this out. Talk about some of the more painful experiences in your life. Maybe it's a job you hate. Maybe it's a divorce. Maybe it was a bad relationship with a parent. Whatever it may be, try to identify 3 core events that didn't go the way you want and write down what was out of your control, what was in your control, and then what you may glean from the situation. There's actually some psychology research that shows that you can even rework these older memories and they can sit better with you when you heal those parts of your life. And part of healing is also taking radical responsibility. Again, bad things happen to good people. They do, right? The difference between the average and exceptional person is they're able to look at it and say, here's what may have gone differently if I had have done this. So from a business perspective, if something bad happens in my company, if someone is upset, if someone offended someone, if somebody is not happy, I have the mindset of I receive what they are saying as long as they are not being abusive. I receive what they are saying and I take what they're saying at value. I actually have tremendous respect for people that are able to express their unhappiness. So then I say, what could I have done differently in this situation? Ultimately, I hired this person. Ultimately, maybe I overlooked something. And when I can identify what didn't go wrong related to my behavior, I suddenly create a roadmap for how I can improve as a human being, as a leader, as a company, and make my behavior better for the future. So that's where the power of radical responsibility is so life-changing. It's also a breath of fresh air. So business owners have to be good at radical responsibility and at looking at situations and figure out what could I have done better and how. How can I not get all depressed and in a negative spiral? You can do that for a little bit. I definitely have pity parties sometimes where I'm like, okay, that didn't go well. I want to cry. I want to just watch movies and eat ice cream. Okay, and I do it. Okay, you can quit for a weekend. But the difference between business owners that are succeeding and those that don't is that we get back at it. We get back on the horse, as my dad always used to say. So that's where maybe come Monday morning, we sit down. We're really honest with ourselves. It's important to be reflective as well. So if you don't have dedicated time to pray, to meditate, to walk quietly in the forest, you're never going to be alone with your thoughts. And that's going to be hard to think about what could I have done differently? How could I have shaped this whole situation in a different way or made the best of a bad situation? When it comes to being a business owner, this is so imperative. And honestly, it just, like I said, it makes you a more grown-up human being. It will actually feed into more positive relationships as well. Likewise, maybe it's the permission that you need to get rid of some people in your life. That could happen too. So nothing is off the table with radical responsibility. It's not like you necessarily owe something to other people that have treated you in a way you don't want to be treated. Okay, so number 1, reflect. Go over those past experiences, journal about it, write about it. Don't blame yourself. We want to be very mathematical, almost like a doctor or a surgeon doing surgery. We want to be very precise and say, okay, next time this happens, we will do X. In my company as well, every time something happens that I don't quite like, I say to my team, okay, do we have a document that stipulates what we do in this situation? Could we write that out? What could we do to avoid this in the future? And how could we perhaps adapt or change our approach to help facilitate such events in the future? So you need to be sure that you've given yourself a little bit of time to grieve so that you can step right back and get into it with fresh eyes and not resentment and not with hardness in your heart. Okay? Now here's the thing with radical responsibility is the longer you do it, the faster and better you get at it, right? So maybe before I would have a week-long pity party. I mean, that never happened, but maybe a day-long pity party. And then now I'm almost like, I wouldn't say that I want things to go wrong, but when things do go wrong, this is actually an amazing moment where I can teach my team grace, how to deal with things effectively, how to change things in a positive way, how to not be so afraid to make mistakes, because what can also happen is we can get so afraid to make mistakes, we get really risk averse. But the thing is I'd like to say, let's try it, see if it works. If it doesn't, we reroute, we regroup. And when it comes back to making mistakes, we don't have to get all emotional about it and cry and scream and treat each other poorly. We can literally say, okay, This was a good learning experience. What can we draw from it? What did you do that you would have changed? What did I do that we were going to change? And how could we prevent this from happening in the future? I hope that you usher in this radical responsibility concept in your life. I hope that after today's video, you can even pause, get out your journal, go for a long walk in the forest among the peaceful trees where we have that sense that God is there, and we think and we reflect on those situations and how we can make it better in the future. Yes, you can get all kinds of down and upset with radical responsibility, or you can really use it as the reins to take over your life. It has been transformational for my life. It has been transformational for so many women that have worked with me in my program. The other thing I might ask you to do, if you're a business owner, why don't you sit down and write out an oath of radical responsibility? I, Sarah May Ives, declare that I will take radical responsibility for my life, the things that happen to me, and how I respond to them to ultimately approach life in a better, wiser way that impacts me, my family, my community, and the people that I want to make their lives better. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please like, please comment, turn on the notification bells if you subscribed, and if you know someone who could benefit from this, share it with them too. I am so grateful you are here. I am so grateful that you spent this time with me in this ultra busy world, in this very distracted world that we lived in. So thank you, and I will see you on the next video.